Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we have a return to the channel for one of the great constructors in the world of Sudoku. It's Agent, and a puzzle called Far, Far Away, which has a rule set I don't think I've seen before, although I might be wrong. There are aspects of it I've seen before. It involves doublers, but something called remote sums as well. It's got a whopping high rating on Logic Masters, and it's been recommended to us by two people we trust implicitly with such things. And I will read you the rules of this one in a moment or two's time. It's got 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so it's probably not desperately easy, but apparently it's wonderful. So this is what we're going to have a look at in the video. Now, what do I have to tell you about today? Not too much. I've got some birthdays to do. Just a shout out again for the crossword video that's going gangbusters. So if you're into your cryptic crosswords, you should definitely have a look at that. Steve Pemberton's puzzle, of course, which appeared in The Guardian and on the quiz show Taskmaster. And then we are streaming tomorrow night. Let me show you the picture. We are going to return to Dungeons and Diagrams with the hope, but perhaps not the expectation, of finishing the game. So this is going to be the third part of our Dungeons and Diagrams excursion. So do join us if you can, 10 o'clock UK time tomorrow night. And that's not Maverick I can hear, but it's somebody who seems to have started some sort of chainsaw. I'm plagued by noises off camera, or off stage indeed. Anyway, let's, what else do I need to tell you about? Well, over on Patreon, we've got Glum Hippo's incredible Snake Egg Sudoku hunt. Do have a go at that. You've still got just under a week left to enter the competition. And then some birthdays. Let's start with John. It's your birthday. I know this because your girlfriend Hannah wrote to us. And apparently, John, you're really into cryptic crosswords. Big time is what Hannah told us. I'm pleased to hear it. I'm sure Steve Pemberton would be pleased to hear it as well. And you're having chocolate ice cream today rather than chocolate cake, which that is forgivable. So John, many happy returns. Next, Brian down there in Melbourne, whose birthday it is today and has turned an age a little older than The Secret. I'm not sure exactly how many years extra it is. But Brian, many happy returns. You asked in your email whether white chocolate mud cake is okay. Yes, that's absolutely fine. That's clearly chocolate cake in my mind. We saw an unbelievable picture of a mud cake a couple of days ago, but that was actually sort of milk chocolate. But white chocolate is fine in my book anyway. Next, Dylan. Dylan, you've turned 25 over there in Bridgend, South Wales. And I know this because your dad Nick wrote to us and said that you watched the channel. Dylan, I wonder if you were named after my favourite Welsh author, Dylan Thomas. Whenever I think of Dylan Thomas, I think of the opening to Under Milkwood, as I'm sure we all do, where the Arethusa, the Curlew, the Zanzibar, the Cormorant and the Star of Wales tilt and ride. I mean, that piece of English, I think I did it at school originally, and I never understood it at school. I was too young to understand it. But if you read it now, the opening of Under Milkwood, just luxuriate in what is genius language. Anyway, I got distracted. Dylan, thank you for the distraction and many happy returns. Now I am distracted. I'm thinking of the yellowing dicky bird watching pictures of the dead. Anyway, but Lexi, you turned 23 today, and I know this because your fiancé Jack wrote to us, and you're graduating with a master's in teaching soon, and will be a high school maths teacher in the autumn. And Jack also said, Lexi, that he loves you very much and that you're amazing. Well, actually, I'm sure that's true, and you're going to do a job I sort of wish that I'd done at some point in my life. I'd have loved to be a maths teacher. Anyway, Lexi, have a great birthday today. Many happy returns. And then finally, over there in the Netherlands, it's another 23rd birthday. Marinda, it's your birthday today. And I know this because your friend Renee wrote to us and said that you should get a shout out, and you are so worth celebrating, which is a lovely thought, isn't it? So Marinda, I hope you have a great birthday and that you have an enormous slice, of course, of chocolate cake. And with all the birthdays announced, let us turn our attention to far, far away and see what Agent has in store for us. I've had some great experiences solving Agent puzzles on the channel. They are wonderful. I haven't done one for ages. It feels like at least a year. I don't know if that's true. I should have checked before I turned on the webcam. But anyway, these are the rules of the puzzle. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. And then we've got 9 cells, 1 per row, column and box, are doublers and have values equal to double their digit. Each digit appears in exactly one doubler. So somewhere in the grid there's a doubled 1, somewhere there's a doubled 2, somewhere there's a doubled 3, all the way through to doubled 9. But what we can't do is make both of those squares doublers, because they would share a column. And there must only be one doubler in this column, one doubler in all columns, one doubler in all the rows, one doubler in all the boxes. So that's how doublers work. And then we've got this remote sums rule. So it says a value x in a cage points to a second value y located x cells away vertically or horizontally. The number in the top left corner of the cage indicates the sum of x plus y. So let's have a look at this 8 and see if we can understand how it works. So, if we were to write a 5 in there, are we saying that I go 5 steps away in some direction, which could, I can see that's not horizontal because that's going to take me off the edge of the grid. So I can go 5 vertically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I write 3 in there, I think that is what this rule is saying. So let's change that. If we make that 2, then we could write 6 into any of those squares, I think. Although this is all polluted, of course, by the existence in this puzzle of doublers. There was an example on Logic Masters, which we should look at. So, oh, I see. Right. I was thinking I've misunderstood the rules perfectly, but incredibly. But I do actually understand this diagram. I think what we're being told here is that this 2 is a doubler. Oh, good grief. Yeah, okay, so this is going to get very complicated, because if the 2 is a doubler, and I think that's the implication of it being purplified in this diagram, then its value is 4, which means we have to look 4 cells away from it and find a digit that combined with 4 sums to 12, which is why there's an 8 in this square here. So oh no, the 1 is not counting, it's the 2 that's counting. So the 4 clue, oh I see, the 4 clue is saying look 2 away, because that's the 2 in the thing. We go up to here, but this cell here counts as double 1 because it's a doubler. So we get 2 plus 2 to equal the 4. Yeah, okay. That's going to be complicated. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now, I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, I'm tempted to start. Well, I'm either going to start with clues that definitely can't exist without a doubler. So a 19 clue, that cannot. Although I'm tempted to start there. This looks easier to me. I'm going to have a look at the 4 clue. So the 4 clue, what is that saying? I haven't. Well, it must be a small digit. It must be a 1, 2, or a 3. That must be true. Even with doublers existing, that must be true. Right. So if this is a 3, 2, 3, we're saying there's a 1 in one of those 2 squares. If it's a 2, I was about to say it can't be a 2, but it can be, can't it? Because if it's a 2, then we look here or here. And we obviously couldn't put a 2 in either of those squares because that will break Sudoku, but we could put a doubled 1. That's evil. And if we put 1 in here, well then it depends on whether the 1 is doubled or not. This is horrific. Oh my goodness me. Because if the 1 is doubled, it counts as 2, so we go 2 away, where we should find a 2. But if the 1 is not doubled, then we go to these 2 squares, where we ought to find a 3. So that clue is really difficult, actually, even though I thought it was going to be easy. There's a lot of options. So maybe we're meant to look at 19s. So 19s are actually, there's 4 19s in a sort of pattern round the grid. So what's a 19 clue saying? You can't add 2 numbers in Sudoku to 19. 9 and 8 only add up to 17. So there must be a doubler that affects this clue. So yeah, okay. So the interesting thing I'm seeing there is that this cell is not itself doubled. Because the number 19, at least one of the numbers that sums to 19 must be a number that is at least 10, mustn't it? Because if it wasn't, 9 plus 9 is not enough. So at least one, well, yeah, exactly one of the numbers, in fact, must be greater than, must be 10 or greater, and therefore it is a doubler. Now, if this was the doubler and has a value then of at least 10, it's pointing to a cell that doesn't exist in the grid, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the 8 is actually the maximum clue, which I hadn't realised until we just did that. So there can't be any 9s in cages anywhere. That might be worth sort of storing away for a rainy day, mightn't it? So this square is not a doubler, but the cell it points to must be a doubler. Right, okay, so this is odd, I've deduced from that, because a double digit can always be expressed as 2x, so it's even. And this total is odd. So the number in here, which we know is not a doubler, it's not able to be a doubler, is an odd number. And it's probably got to be right, okay, so I've now understood something. It's got to be, it can't be 9, we just worked that out. So it's 7, 5, 3 or 1. Now if it's 1, that can still work actually, yeah. So if it's 1, and say it points here, and this square was doubled 9, well that would work. 18 plus 1 is 19. But that logic must hold true for all of the 19 clues, because they're all the same basically from that perspective. Yes. No. No. Yes, actually, sorry, hang on. The most inarticulate man in Christendom speaks again. Look, yes, there is something going on here. I was looking at this and I was thinking those are odd numbers, and I was thinking that these are the odd numbered positions in the row, and therefore I was thinking, so we could have an overlap. But we can't actually. This is really important, because what I'm now realising is when you count an odd... Oh, something just flew in my window. Okay, it's hopefully flown out again. When we count an odd number of digits from here, we're actually going to arrive at the even numbered positions in the row, positions 2, 4, 6 and 8. Now why does that look interesting to me? Well, I think what that means is that none of these clues can share a doubler. And if that's true, that's fascinating. Yes, these are the sorts of conversations you might have if you ever met me at a party. Ah, dear. Yeah, because if that's true, this clue is pointing, well, it could be pointing not into a row or column. Yeah, maybe in fact that's what we should do. I'm wondering if I meant to highlight all the cells that this can see, potentially. But, well, let's not do that firstly. Let's just focus on the point at hand, which is that if this is pointing along the row, no, it does matter for the column as well. I hadn't seen this as a potential overlap, but that is a potential overlap with this one. So we do need to highlight in both directions. Right. So let's look at this square and say, okay, where is the doubler that this cell is seeing? Now, if it's one cell away, it's in one of those. If it's 3 cells away, it's in one of those. If it's 5 cells away, it's one of these, and if it's 7 cells away, it actually has to be horizontal because it would run off the edge of the grid to the top. So those cells there are the positions where the doubler that relates to this clue lives. Now, let's do that again for this one. So if it's 1, it's those. If it's 3, it's these. If it's 5, it's those. And if it's 7, it's those. Now, I think what we're going to find here is that none of these colours overlap. And that's going to be important. So let's do this one. That's going to be those, isn't it? And then this one. Now, this is the big question. We'll make this purple. That seems the best colour to me. So we're going to get that as the coloration of the possible doublers for this. And the reason I think this is important is now we can see that there is no overlap between the 4 doublers that are necessary for each of these clues. And therefore, the doubled 9, therefore one of these is a 1 and it has a doubled 9 next to it. One of these is a 3 and it has a doubled 8 in one of those 2 positions, 3 away. One of them is a doubled 7 and it has a 5 in its cell. One of them is a doubled 6 and it has a 7 in its cell. So these digits here in the 19 cages are all different digits and each index to a doubler that is either a doubled 9, 8, 7 or 6. So there are no more high doublers in the puzzle, which is presumably going to be important. What about for the 16? 16 is... no, that's not very good actually. That could involve a doubler, but doesn't need to, because it could just be 7 and 9, couldn't it? If it was 7 and 9, you'd have to put the 7 in the cage, because 9 would index off the grid. But if it was a 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would go there, and it wouldn't need a doubler. So we don't need a doubler for the 16, which is a shame. The 14 and the 15, I don't think if... The only interesting thing about the 14 is that the 14 can't have a big number in here, can it? The maximum size, the maximum value of this digit is 4, because in any direction it can only travel 4 spaces. Oh, so this needs a doubler. Ah, yeah, that's it. Okay, that's beautiful. What a beautiful digit. Right, so let's look at this square here and ask what it is. Now, oh no, I've just had an... Oh, no, no, it's fine. Okay, I was suddenly thinking, could it be a double... It can't be a double 2. Right. No, it can't. It can't. Yeah, so if we look at the potential positions where doublers could help this 14 to achieve its target, and we do need a doubler, because this digit itself cannot be greater than 4. So we need, the digit it's going to be paired with has to have a value of at least 10. Well, you can see, if we look along the white squares, nothing there sees one of the coloured digits. And the coloured digits are the doubled 6... or the coloured digits are the possible positions for the doubled 6, 7, 8 and 9. So this cannot... The highest value this could possibly be associated with is doubled 5. And if it was associated with double 5, it would need to be a 4 in order to get up to 14. And it can't be a double 2 to give the 4, because if it was double 2 and we couldn't then make that a doubled 5, could we? Because there'd be 2 doublers in the same row. Same here, same here, same here. So this is just a naked 4. And there is a doubled 5 in one of those positions, which I should give a colour to, of course. So we'll make those yellow. No. Red. No. Grey. Make them grey. Okay. And that's our first digit. Right, so the 5 clue might be important now. Because the 5 clue, it can't have a digit in it that's as large as 5. So that's 1, 2, or 3. And no, it's a bit like that 4 clue actually. That's got loads. It's got a surprising number of ways that it can be constituted. I mean, it could be 1 with a 4. It could be 1 with a doubled 2. It could be doubled 1 with a 3 if this square was not the 5, or that square is not the doubled 5, etc. There's just an absolute plethora of ways of making that work. Right, let's try the 15 then, because the 15 is also fairly middle-ish. And what I've learnt from this one is that the middly digits... 1, 2, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, this spell's interesting. Let's just make that red for a moment. Okay, so what I'm seeing with this square is that the maximum value of the digit I can put in this square is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, right, but here's another point. It's not 5, because if it was 5, what would you put? Yeah, in fact, it can't even... Well, we know it's not doubled 5, because doubled 5 is in the grey cells. But if it is even single 5, we'd have to put a digit here or here that would be worth 10. And the only way of getting that would be a doubled 5, which we know is in the grey. So this is not doubled 5. But, just like the 19s, it's got to be odd, hasn't it? This digit has got to be odd, because the only way we can get to the total is with a doubler. And the reason that's interesting is... the size of the doubler that is necessary to make the 15 work, given that this cell itself can be no greater than, well, now it can't be any greater than 3, and it has to be odd. So it's 1 or 3. So it needs a massive doubler. And if it needs a massive doubler, it needs to overlap with a coloured cell. So it could, if that's a 1, it could see that one or that one. If it's a 3, yes, it's still going to see there's still loads of possibilities. Oh no, right. This is beautiful. No, there aren't loads of possibilities. There aren't, because each coloured cell, if it is a doubler, it has a specific value related to its difference from the sort of indexing clue. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, look at this one. If this is a 1, there is a 9 doubler in one of those. If this is a 3, there is a 7 doubler in one of those. If this is 8 doubler. If this is a 5, there is a 7 doubler in one of those, and if this is a 7, there is a 6 doubler there. And that logic must be the same for all of these thingies. So 9s are always the closest to the clue, and then 8s are always 1 away from the clue. So that one. Hang on, I'm getting confused now. I'm going to do this more slowly. So the 8s for blue would go there. 8s for purple would go there. 8s for orange would go there. So 7s for orange are there. 7s for blues are there. 7s for purples are there. And then 6s are always the sort of furthest away possible option. Right. So remember, for each colour, only one of the cells in that colour will be a doubler. And the interesting thing, surely, is that this square needs to index to exactly one of these colours. Now, if this was 3, that would mean we need to see double 6, don't we? We don't see double 6 from this square. There's a 6 there, a 6 there, a 6 there, and a 6 there. They are not even in the same row or column as this. So this is 1. And that means we need to, now we need to see double 7. And we could get to that square. This is so beautiful, Agent. This is beautiful. We could get to this square. We do see a colour 1 cell away, but it would have the wrong number in it if this was a doubled 8. Because doubled 8 plus 1 is 17, so it's got to be doubled 7. So the green doubler is a doubled 7, is what we've now learned, which means we can get rid of all the other greens, get rid of everything there. This square is now a 5, because that's how many away this is. So 5 plus double 7 is correct. I normally use reds for doublers, actually, so I'm going to correct my colouring now. So I'm going to make this red. Now, what can we do with that? Well, one thing we can do is that we can go round the other 19 clues, this one, and this one, and delete 5 from them. Because we know that these digits are all different in the 19 clues, because they're all indexing into different doublers. So now, so that means we can delete the numbers that have 7 in their colours, because they are impossible now. This 7 is the only doubler in its row, column and box. So these colours are impossible, these colours are impossible. That is not a possible, because that one was a possible. Remember we said that this is indexing to a doubled 5. Well, that can't be there because there's already a doubler in the box, and that can't be a 5 anymore, so that's not a doubler. So there's a doubler in one of these. We can't have a doubled 7. That's impossible. We can't have a doubled 7. That's impossible. We can't have a doubled 7. That's impossible. Here we go. Here we go. So now all of these squares are not doublers. So I'm going to make those green. One of these is a doubled 5. That's not a doubler, because we know that one of these is a doubler. Oh, so okay, so that's not a doubler. That's worth recording. Yeah, because one of these is a doubler, I don't know which one it is, but that one can't therefore be a doubler because it would prevent either of these being a doubler and break the 14 clue. So that takes out one or two of those weird options we were looking at for this square. And we've now used all the high doublers in some way. In the coloured squares in this puzzle, we've used the 9, the 8, the 7, the 6, and the 5. So there's only 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s left to be doubled. Sorry, I'm just trying to, I'm sure now that something has been revealed to me that I need to use, and I just can't see it. So, no, I'm just not seeing it, sorry. So one of these is a 7 and indexes to a 6. One of them is a 1 and indexes to a 9. One of them is a 3 and indexes to an 8. Oh, that's interesting. So if this one was a 3, it can't now go there, the 8. So the 8 would have to go there. 3, 8. The same is true for that one. And presumably then... No, it's different for that one. That one can go that way. That would have to go vertically. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sure that there's something very obvious that's been revealed by all this. I can't see anything. The only square that is not this, is it? Because this, I think... Does it matter that I know this isn't doubled? Okay, let's think about it. If this is a 1, then one of these two squares is a 3. If this is a 2, well, okay, if this is a 2, it could still be a 2, but either that square... Actually, that might not work. If that's a 2, then this square... Oh, right, I've got one thing. Right, I've got one thing. That can't be a 1, for a really beautiful reason. Yeah, that's interesting. So... Right. Okay, right, I've now got a point about this square. This is not a 2. This is not a 2 for the most... In one case, for an absolutely beautiful reason. Okay, if this is a 2, one of these squares here has to have a value of 2. Now, can we achieve a value of 2? Well, we can't achieve a value of 2 here because this can't be doubled. Because we know that this we're adding up to an odd number. So we can't have a doubled number here and then a doubled number in the number that's being indexed to, which we do need. So this is definitely not a doubled 1. This can't be a 1 at all, because if that's a 1, it sees that cell, and that cell, which we know are a 137 triple. They are all different numbers. So one of these digits is a 1, and whichever one it is, whichever one of these is a 1, whichever one of these dark green digits is a 1, it sees that square and prevents it from being a 1. So this is just not a 1. And we worked out that wasn't a... Well, that wasn't a 1 in the sense that if this is a 2, that's not a 1. So this is not a 2, is what we've worked out. So this is now 1 or 3, which means there's either a 3 in one of those, or if this is a 3, 1, 2, 3, well... Right, okay, so we might be able to do something with this. Either this is itself a 1, in which case this is not a 1 by sudoku, or this is itself a 3 and it indexes to a 1, which is not there by sudoku, so it must be here, which means in this column there is either a 1 here or here, which means that square is not a 1. So now if that square is not a 1, the doubler associated with this clue is not in any of those squares. Good grief. So this is now a 3 or a 7 indexing to an 8 or a 6. And if that's... No. I've got it. I've got it. It's very, very simple. Right. How could this be a 3? It can't be a 3, because if it's a 3... Let's make it a 3. What's this? It's a 1. What does this need to get up to 4? It needs a 3. Where are we going to put that 3 that's got to be 1 away from this square? Nowhere. It won't work. So that means this square here is a 7, which is that's probably not... Well, if it's a 7, it's indexing to a 6. So this 6 here, this orange square, is a doubler. That is an undoubler. In fact, all of these are undoubled, aren't they? We could have done that before. That is not a doubler anymore. 6 is now not a doubler in the two other colours. Right, this 6 sees a whole load of cells that we can now make green in effect. And the interesting ones surely are those two, which now have to also be green. So this one, well, no, not only that, these two can't be 7 anymore. So these are a 1-3 pair. Oh. So what are we learning? Whatever that. So these two are the same. So if these are both 3, there's a 3 here. If these are both 1, there's a 1 in one of those two squares. Yeah, and sorry, the reason I can see that these two are the same is because this one I know is different from this one, because these are a 1-3 pair, and obviously I know this one is different from this one by Sudoku, so that implies those two are the same. Now, it might be the 16 clue, although I wasn't very keen on that 16 clue when I looked at it before. So if the 4 clue is pointing at that cell being a doubler, that would also tell us that this one had to be a doubler there, because we couldn't have 2 doublers in box 8. So if that's a doubler, that's a doubler. And then these are both 1s. I don't think that's doing anything interesting, but I'm probably wrong and not seeing something, but I can't see what the problem is with that. It's more... sorry, I realise I've stopped talking now. I'm just trying to think about something. If that's a 1, that's a doubler, and that means that's a doubler. It's the other way. It's the other way that doesn't work. Right, that's beautiful. Good grief. Right, this square is not a 1. Because if this is a 1, where's its doubler? It's there. Now, if this is a doubler, where's the doubled 5? We know it's in a grey cell. Now, if this is a doubler, that means that this square over here is a doubler. So we'd have these two as doublers, if this is a 1. But if this is a 1, this is a 3, which means that it needs a cell 3 cells away, which is this square, and we'd have 2 doublers in box 4. That's absolutely beautiful. This is a ridiculously good puzzle. Now, this square, therefore, is not a 1, that's a 3. So that's a 3, that's a 1. We know that's the same as that, so that's a 1. We know this 3 must be looking at a doubler there, so this is now a doubled 8. We can get rid of the purple, get rid of the purple. Everything that this 8 sees is now green, but it's going to be more interesting up there, I think. But let's just see if we can finish this bit off. That 3, that's not... Well, that might be a 9, but it's not the doubled 9. Now this one, right, so this is not indexing this. So this one of these is a doubler, it being indexed by this 1. So one of those is a doubler. So none of those is a doubler. What does that mean? The 1 here needs to see a 3, and that's not there anymore. So there's a 3 here. Actually, I'm prematurely made. No, that is right. No, my brain was right. That's got to be undoubled, because otherwise it wouldn't add up to the right number. Okay, so where's the doubler in this column? And the answer is I don't know. But it's in one of those 2 squares. But it could be this one, if this is the doubled 5 associated with that clue. So none of those are doubled. So we've got 1 doubler in one of those. Yeah, should we just plot all the positions for doublers that we've got left then? So we've got a doubler down here, and a doubler in one of those as well. So those are the remaining possible spaces for doublers, and we know that most of them are tiny. There's a we've got a 9 doubler in one of those. we've got a 5 doubler in one of these, and everything else has to be a lower doubler than that, so 1, 2, 3 or 4 doubler. Right, so that this square, this doubler in here, is not 1 or 4, and it's not 5, which is in one of those, and it's not 9. So the doubler in one of those is a 2 or a 3. Okay, and the doubler in here is a 2 or a 4. It's not 1 or 3, and it's obviously not 5, which is in one of these two, and it's not 9. So the doubler here, oh, if it was that one, it would be 2 or 5. But 1 and 3 can't be doubled here, so the doubler here is 2, 4 or 5, and if it's 5, it's there. The doubler here, it's just about anything, is it? Well, it's 1, 2, 3 or 4, I think. And the doubler here, the doubler down here can't be 3, look. So where's the double 3? Does it have to be here, or could it be here? I don't know. I think maybe it could be up here. There's got to be a 3 in one of those by Sudoku. I mean, it would be outrageous if in Agent Sudoku Puzzle I was forced to do Sudoku at such an early point. Don't really know where to look now. What about that square in the corner? That's an 8 clue. It hasn't got a 1 in it. Or actually it hasn't got 1 or 3, so what could it be? Just from a plain old Sudoku perspective, it's actually got loads of options. It could be 2, 4, 5 or 6. So if it's a 2, you've got to put a digit with value 6 in one of those, so that would be a 6. If it's a 4, you'd need another 4 value, but you could have a double 2 in that position. Oh goodness, okay. If it's a 5, then you need to have a 3 here or a 3 here. And if it's a 6, you could have a double. Well, you can't have double 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, because of the position, so you'd get a 2 in one of the. You see, that cell, it looks like it might be interesting, it's just not. I'm sort of trying to work out where I think the tension is likely to be. I'm going to go back to that 16 clue. The 16 clue is now undoubled itself. But it could be indexing into a doubler. And if it was indexing, if it's indexing into a doubler, the highest value doubler it could see is 4. No, 5, because that could be a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that doesn't work mathematically, because putting a 4 here and indexing into a doubled 5 doesn't add you up to 16. So the highest value doubler it can see is a doubled 4, which is worth 8. So it could be, yeah, it can't see a double 3 because we can't make this a value of 10. So it either is something indexing into a double 4, in which case it would have to be an 8 itself. So it could be an 8 indexing into a double 4. Oh, but 8's, no. Well, only vertically. Because this would have to be an 8 to index into a double 4, it can't go horizontally because that cell is a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, my maths is right there. So this would have to be a doubled 4. Which might be fine. Don't know. That would also fix that this was a double 9. Okay, so that could be an 8 indexing to a double 4. If it's not an 8, it can't be a 9, that's indexing off the grid. So it has to be a 7-9 pair, doesn't it? Now if it's a 7-9 pair, the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is either there or there. Oh. Well, I don't know if this is even worth anything, but it's not. I know it's not there. That's not doubled 9. Or no, sorry, that's not. That's the 9. If this was 7, if this was 7, this is not 9. Because if this is 9, it's undoubled 9. Which means that square is 9 in box 1. And that's a doubler. And the doubler in this column is in the corner because this is not doubled, and we'd have 2 doublers in the same row, so that is not doubled 9. So if this is 7, it's indexing a 9 there, which would make that a 9. Right. So what we're being told here, which is still worthwhile actually, because this is 7 or 8. It's like the most bizarre Y-wing you've ever seen. If this is 7, that is a 9, which means that is a 9. That's one option. That's option 1. If this is an 8, it has to index to a doubler here, and then that is still. That's the only place for the doubler in box 1. So in one case you use the 9 to fix this as a 9. In the other case you use the doubler to fix this as a 9. That's so peculiar. It's brilliant. It's brilliant though, isn't it? So that means that is always a 9. And that means this is always not a doubler. And therefore that is a doubler in the corner. I don't think it's going to determine this, which is so peculiar. Now neither of those are doublers. So this, the doubler in this box is in one of those 2 squares. We can get rid of the funny pencil mark I was using to try and keep track of doublers. Okay. What do we do with this? How does this help us? We'll probably have to think about that square next. Just let me mull this over for a moment. Do we get anything else from this? So either, if this is 7, that is 9 undoubled. If this is 8, this is 4. Yeah, that's 4 doubled, isn't it? So it has a value of 8, so it needs to get a 2 from somewhere. But the 2 has to be 8 cells away. So it wouldn't be there, so it would have to be here. And then that would need to have a 6 or a doubled 3, 2 cells away, which would have to be a 6 here. Don't know. That might be possible. So what are the other options for this square then? It can't be a 1 by Sudoku. It can't be, because it's doubled, it obviously has to be 2, 3 or 4. So if it's doubled 2, you'd need to put a 6 here or here. So that would be a 6. If it's doubled 3, then one of those squares needs to be a 4. And if it's doubled 4, then we know that square has to be a 2. This is really confusing. Right, okay, so that doesn't help. Doesn't help, I don't think. So what have I actually learnt then? Sorry, if you can see it, well done. I don't think this is that easy. Maybe it's one of the clues I haven't looked at. Should we have a look at that one? Thing is, I don't know whether that's a doubler. I'd really rather look at things I don't know whether they're doublers or not. So maybe I look at these two. 12. Thing is, the 12 12 could go quite a long way horizontally and hit doublers. And that one could hit doublers, but only nearby doublers. Yeah, okay. This is more interesting, I think. That square can't be that big. Because the furthest away it could index is that position's like this. And it can't be that, interestingly, because that would make this a 5. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you can't put 5 there, because then what do you put there? You've got to put 5 again. So this square has to be lower than 5. And it can't be 1 or 4, so that square is 2 or 3. But we know there's a double 2 or 3 in this box. Hang on. So if this is a 2, it needs to get a value of 8 from somewhere, which couldn't be there. So it would have to be vertical. But it could see double 4, couldn't it, as well? Oh! Okay, what are the doublers? What are the doublers that live down here? They are not 3s, I'm noticing. So the doubler that lives down here, it's either... Oh, no, I've got it. It's much easier than I'm making it. Right, where's the doubled 1? That's the question. That's the question. Oh, goodness me. That's just that's glorious. This is a brilliant puzzle. Where's the doubled 1? It's not there, apparently. It's not here, where we by sudoku. It's not here by sudoku. It's not there by sudoku. So the doubled 1 is in this box. And in fact, therefore, because of this one, it's in one of those 2 squares. Ah! That's huge, because that means these are not doublers. Well, obviously it means that, but it means that the grey one is not a doubler. And that was one of the positions for the doubled 5. So the doubled 5 is here. There. That's not a doubler. That's not a doubler. So we can get rid of some pencil marks there, I think. So now, what does that mean? There's a doubled 1 in one of those squares. Come on, Simon. That also must mean that... Okay, that's not a 5 in the corner up there. Let's think. Is this obvious? Okay, so if there's a doubler in one of these... Oh, I see. I think it's going to resolve the 16 clue. Because now this is not a doubler by sudoku, which means that is the only place for a doubler in box 7. And that is therefore a 2 or a 4. Now, that's not the right number, is it? We worked out if this was 7, we needed a 9 in that position, which is now not available. So this is 8. And if it's 8, we need a value of 8 in one of those positions. So that's telling us this is the doubled 4. And if this is the doubled 4, that is the doubled 2. And if this is the doubled 2, there is a doubled 3 in this box, which means this is a 2 by sudoku. And that... Right, and that doubled 4 needs a value of 2 to get up to 10 in a position that is 8 away. So this is now 2, which needs a value of 6 in either that position or that position. So that's a 6. I'm quite excited about this. I think we might be almost there now. Although I seem to have a horrendous amount of sudoku left to do. That is no longer a 2. So this is 1 or 3. Right, and we might be able to get rid of 3 here. If this is 3, what on where does it go? Where's its index? Its index is there, there, and there. And it needs something with a value of 2. which is a doubled 1 or a plain old 2, and none of those squares work. So this is a 1. And if it's a 1, it needs a value of 4 next to it, which is going to be in one of these squares, and therefore is in one of those squares. Which means there's a 4 down here, which means that is a 4 by Sudoku. These squares are an 8, 9 pair. No, they're not. That's an 8, that's a 9. One of these is an 8. Where's 5 and 7 in box 1 by Sudoku again? That's a 5, 7 pair. So there's a 5 down here. 7 over here. These squares are 3 and 8 by Sudoku. Oh, so 8's almost restricted in box 3. I've still got 2 clues that I haven't investigated as well, so I'm going to think about those. Let's think about this one first. So, now, what do we know about this square? We don't know if it's doubled. If it is doubled, we know it's doubled 1. And if it's doubled 1, it's worth 2. And it needs a 6 in one of those positions. Well, that one's out. But that could be a 6. And that could be a 6. So actually, that's not really very useful. And if it's not the doubler, then it could have lots of values. It could be silly values, like it could be a 5 in, although 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, maybe that doesn't work. What about 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be a 2. See, that it's so strange. That cell, even though you think, okay, well, I must basically be done now, that cell I still think has loads of options. 4 is there in box 2. Okay, we're going to resort to Sudoku. The 12 clue. Is that somehow under pressure? Could be. I don't know. 2. 2's in one of those squares. One is in one of those squares. 1 is in one of these squares, because I know one of these is a 1. Can I do something with the 3 here using that sort of logic? If that's a 3, what does that mean? I need a value of 9. One of those squares, that's fine. What is this by Sudoku? Okay, this is not, it's not a 1. I don't think it can be a 2, because then it needs to see a value of 10, and all the cells that are 2 away are not doublers, so it's not a 2. 3 I thought might work. 4 and 5 and 6 are out by Sudoku, so then we're up to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 doesn't work, because that's a doubler, and is worth 10, even though it looks like a 5, so we can't go 7. So this, okay, so that is 3. That's what we're supposed to pick up from that. So there's a 3 up there. There's a 3 in one of these squares. There's a 3 here. There's a 3 in one of those squares. 6 is in one of those 2 squares now. So 6 is in one of these squares. And if this is 3, it needs a 9. 1, 2, and you can't put 9 there. So 9's got to be here. That's a little bonus, isn't it? Is that doing anything? Yeah, that is doing. That's giving me 9 in box 7. I might be doing more than that. Just have to work out how. Don't know. Don't know how to do that. Okay. We're probably not a million miles away from finishing it, though. 9 is in one of those squares. So 9 is in one of these 2 squares. There must be some way, or maybe I've not used all the clues. Have I actually made sure that I've used all the clues? Let's just double check. 5 indexes to 7, 3, 9, we just did that. 8 goes to the 4. This goes to, oh, that goes to the 8, that's okay. The 1 goes to a 3. That one goes to there. This one, that one goes to a 4, which we haven't put in, but I have pencil marked. So the only one I haven't done is this one. And what did we say about that one? It goes to a, well, it depends whether it's the doubler or not. Oh, bobbin. I'm probably going to have to think more seriously about this, actually. Unless I could get, if I can get the doubler in this box, which is essentially the same question as doing Sudoku on 3s, can we do that somehow? I don't think so. Not sure. What about, okay, what about that row? 1, 2, and 9. Does that help us? That's not 9. No. No is the answer to the question. What about... I don't know. I don't know where I'm meant to look. What about that one? Did we use this one? Hang on. Hang on. Where's this one's thingy? How long ago did I write 2 in here, and why did I write 2 in there? I have no memory of this place. Why did I write 2 in there? Is that nonsense? I know why. Ah, I did write 2 in there, I've remembered. And that was correct, but I never used it. Ah, that's great. Right, I never used it. The reason I knew this was 2 was that we got this down to being 2 or 3, and then I worked out the doubler in this box had to be 3, which was up there, which allowed me to write 2 in here, but I never used it. And even when I did my audit of them, I never even picked it up then. But this is a 2, it needs 8 of value, which it can't get there apparently by Sudoku. It can't get there by, it can't go horizontal by Sudoku, so it must get 8 of value here, which can't be a doubler, so it must just be an 8. That's huge, because that's then not doubled, and therefore that's doubled, and we've all of a sudden we've actually worked out all our doublers now. So this is the 3, that's not indexing anything. This is a 1. That's an 8 by Sudoku, so that's an 8, and that's a 3. So this is a 3, that's a 4. Oh, look, it's just filling in now. It's just filling in. This is good. Oh, okay, that's not 3. That's not 3. These squares are what? 2, 6, 7. That's a 2, 6, 7 triple. Whoops. So these squares down here are 4 and 5. We should be able to therefore write that one in. That's got to be a 6. So 6 is in one of those squares. Now this clue I've not used. So this is meant to see something with value 6, 2 away from it, which now has to be there, apparently. That's the only place I can put anything that has even remotely the right level of value. That's not a 1. So 1 in this row has to be here. How many 1s have we got? All of them. All of the 1s are okay now. This is apparently a 6-9 pair in this column, which ought to be helpful because that means these, yeah, 7 and 2 we can write in. Which means these 2 squares are 4 and 5, which we can do the order of, which means these 2 squares are 5 and 4. That's no longer a 4. In this row we need a 2 somewhere, don't we? So we can write that in. Oh, we nearly got the 2 in box 2, but not quite. These squares now are, where's 4? 4 has to go there, which seems to mean this has to be a 3, which means that's a 3 at the top of the grid. These squares are 7, 9 and 6, and that's not 6, so this is 5. Right, now can we keep 5's in one of 2 places in this box. What about those squares then? They're 2, 5 and 7. Where's, okay, 5 sees that one, 5 sees that one, so that's 5. So this is 5, which means that's 5. These are 2 and 7, which may not be resolved immediately. But I don't think we're a million miles away now. These are a 7, 8, 9 triple. That's not 8. That's not 8, so this is 8. Right, we've got 7 or 9 looking at these. I don't know. That's 6. Oh, that's 6 or 9 at the top because of this 7. So this is 6. That's a naked single. So that's 6. That's 9. That's 7. That's 6. That's 7. That's 9. That's 2. That's 9. This is now 7. The 2 and the 6, well, the 7 does that, that does that, that does that, that does that, that does that, and this is done. And now I'm hopeful. Now I am hopeful. 2, 6, 7, 8. So this is a 2, 8 pair, which we can do. This is a 6, 7 pair, which we can. Oh, that was a shank. I don't know what I pressed there to make it do that, but that was quite exciting. This is a 9, and that should be an 8, and that might be correct. Have I got one of every digit highlighted? I think I have. Let's see. Yes. Wow. Wow, that's a sensationally good puzzle, Agent. Welcome back. Welcome back, my friend, with an absolute worldie. I loved many parts of that, but I thought that the beginning with the 19s was gorgeous. The fact that they couldn't hit each other. And then, I can't remember which clue it was, but there was a clue that then had to hit them. Was it that one? Yeah, this is, this is stunning. That is stunning. That's got some seriously clever logic in it. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.